Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website JFA49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49.
What is up, everybody? Adam is not present in this moment, but he is not gone forever. He is just gone but not forgotten in this moment because he is dealing with some technical difficulties on his end. I think it's an internet issue. We were trying to get it figured out. That's why we're a few minutes late this morning, but I'm here at least. Adam is somewhere in the wires, somewhere in the internets. He's floating out there somewhere like Ultron, floating around on the internet database. But we're here, and we're going to be rolling with it anyways. Happy Friday to everybody. This is the day rookies are reporting for 49ers training camp. We are back. There is real football on the horizon. Next week, we will see. It may be some fourth rounders who are going to go play European League or United Football League, but we will see some actual guys in NFL uniforms playing football next week. We have made it through this so far, and you have stuck with us. We are so thankful for you and appreciate you. Real quick reminder that we dropped a brand new video, edited video, posted like you are used to from the breakdown videos on Michael Williams. Some clips we have gone over on this podcast. Some are new. And we looked at Michael Williams and what he brings to the table as the first round pick. We're going to be doing this for every single one. I am currently working on the Alfred Collins video, and thankfully enough, he signed while I was working on that video and getting it to you guys. So he's there. He is signed. I will say this was the one thing we were all wondering, when were the dominoes going to start to fall? Because Nick Caserio, and I like Nick Caserio, I like the Texans, I like D'Amico Ryans, that they really messed everybody up by increasing the amount of guaranteed money they gave to Jaden Higgins over what second round picks have generally gotten, and really messed up the entire rookie scale from there. Because what that really did was push then the next pick down was wanting like 1 percentage point less on his, or maybe even like 0.25 percentage points less on the guaranteed money. And that became a holdup. And every draft pick was waiting for the dominoes to fall after that point and saying, okay, where is this going to be? Are we going to get, is everybody going to slot just a little bit less? And what is the slotting going to be? And there's been this holdup, kind of like taxis waiting to pick people up at the airport. I just want to point out that's a Band-Aid. My thumb's not blue. But that it's like there's a holdup there where one person's sitting there negotiating with a taxi driver, and nobody else behind him can do anything until that guy gets out of the way. And that's kind of what's been going on. And kudos to Alfred Collins and the 49ers for just saying, look, we're going to assume a certain percentage point drop per pick, and we're just going to slot on this. We're not going to play this game of whether it's 1% or 0.5%. We're just going to slot it and go. That's basically about a 10% or 1% per pick is what they kind of slotted in there as a drop per pick. And so I say that's good on the 49ers for recognizing that and going ahead and making a more aggressive offer, because this is an increase over the same slot of draft pick last year. So the 49ers they gave a little on this. Alfred Collins, it wasn't going to sit there and, kind of, argue back and forth over what could be a potential 2 or 3% more guaranteed money. He just said, look, 88% of guaranteed money is good enough. That's enough to get me in camp. I'm not going to finish out my rookie deal anyways. I'm going to get an extension. I'm going to play well and get an extension there before I hit year 4. So when it comes to that, again, the 49ers, what Alfred Collins' contract represents is 88% of his contract is now fully guaranteed. This time last year, the 43rd overall pick that he was, they received 78% of their contract fully guaranteed. So that's what I mean when I say the good on the 49ers for not messing around and sitting here trying to just wait for everything. And in the end, they probably will start saving the rest of the league money. Somebody had to go ahead and be first. They weren't going to wait for the guys in front of them. They said, we're just going to do this and slot it and determine that each pick is going to be about 1%. And so from there, you will start to see these dominoes fall a lot faster, hopefully. If not, that's tough for the rest of the league, but the 49ers got their guy into the building. They weren't going to mess around on it, especially over 10%, which, on that contract, it really comes out to about $1 million. So they weren't gonna argue around over $1 million on a $275 million cap, and keep their number 2 overall pick, who needs to be a starter this year, out of camp. Any sort of delay in getting him into camp. So I'm really happy with how this has worked out. Now the last domino to fall, the last piece for the 49ers to get together to get their entire team into camp happy and ready to go for the season is going to be Jennings. We talked about him on Monday, did a show with stats on the 49ers Gold podcast. And we went over some of Juwan's film, and we talked about it of where Juwan kind of sits contract wise as where I would like to see him slotted. He's reportedly pushing for $14 to $15 million a year. For me, that's a little too rich. I think Jennings really slots around Rashad Bateman with the Ravens, and he's at 12.5 a year. He's also the 28th highest paid wide receiver in the league right now. And Jennings last year was 28th in yards in the league. So I think it's very fair. They need to find a middle ground somewhere, probably in that $11 to $12 million range. If I'm the 49ers, I don't really want to go over 11. If I'm Jennings, I don't want to go below 12. So that's going to be, I think, the sticking point. If Juwan's going to stick on $15 million, this is going to be very difficult, because at $15 million, you are now slotting into the top 20 wide receivers in the league, meaning you are a starter. And Jennings for this team is not going to be a starter more than maybe 2 months. He probably believes he is, but I don't think the 49ers are looking at him as a weapon that is one of their 21 personnel starters. He's going to play about 65% of the snaps, but he's not going to get into that. If we have Juszczyk on the field, if we have George Kittle on the field and Christian McCaffrey on the field, who else are we putting on the field? If Brandon Ayuk is healthy, that other guy is going to be Ricky Pearsall, or it's going to be Jacob Cowing. It's going to be somebody else who brings more speed to be able to stretch the field a little bit more and widen and stretch those intermediate zones even more. I love Jennings. I love a lot of what he brings, but there's a reason he hasn't been your 21 personnel receiver when they had other options. They needed guys who had at least 4.4 speed to get to push those safeties vertical and really cause them to turn and open up that intermediate area. Jauan Jennings just doesn't have that. He's not going to be the home run hitter. I showed a clip yesterday in our show with stats where it's a play that we run all the time with different players, a drift route. And we've seen Ricky Pearsall or Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk make house calls on these plays when they have an angle on the safety and they can break it and go to the end zone. Jauan Jennings got caught at the 40-yard line. That's the difference, is that Jauan isn't going to be that top end speed guy. So I can't push it to $15 million a year. I am okay with 11 to 12. I think that's much more reasonable for where his production is going to be. You have to say the 49ers aren't going to assume this year that they're going to have a bunch of injured wide receivers again. They have to just operate as if their guys are going to be healthy cap wise. You then adjust when things happen because things are going to happen. You don't know which room is going to be hit hardest. We've had times there's a quarterback room that got hit hardest. We've had times where it was a running back room that got hit hardest. We've had times there's a defensive line room. We've had times there's a wide receiver room. We've had different moments, but you can't assume that your wide receiver room is going to be hit and plan accordingly and dump a lot of cap into that. So if the 49ers are looking at this and saying, okay, Ricky Pearsall is healthy and Brandon Ayuk is healthy and these guys do what we think they're going to do, and George Kittle's going to do what we think he's going to do, and Christian McCaffrey does what we think he's going to do, and Isaac Guerrero and James Jordan, like what ends up happening in there is that you look at this and say, what do we expect a good year of production considering those things of being for Jauan Jennings? And I look at it and say, top 700 yards, 750 yards. Well, am I going to pay $15 million for 750 yards? I don't think so. That's very steep for that kind of production. That's not a knock on Jauan Jennings, but he's at a moment where he's trying to leverage that, but they need to work this out. And I think that's going to be a comfortable thing, maybe a 2-year, $22 million contract where really the last year is more of an option year and they give a lot of that guaranteed money up front this year and help him out on that where he feels there. And then they have an option where depending on how things go through the season, they can either keep him on and he can make the rest of that, or he can go in free agency and use the last year of his prime years, which is he'll be 29, and try and get a bigger contract. I think that would work out for both sides, but I'm not in the rooms and I'm not the ones negotiating. I'm not an agent. I'm not a GM. So that's how I feel about that and where the 49ers sit. When they can do that, man, this is looking so much better than it has in years. To be going into training camp with all your players signed. All your players have been attending OTAs and mini camps and they're ready to go and the vibes are good and they're excited for the season and Kyle Shanahan seems refreshed. This is lining up to be a very strong camp for the 49ers that they can get in. The biggest thing that we're going to be crossing our fingers about and, maybe, doing whatever you got to do to keep the injury bug away. That's going to be the big question big kind of watch through training camp is can they stay healthy? But they have a huge draft class that this is a very important camp to get these kids up to speed, get them ready for the season because they don't have a lot of time. I mean, they have 6 weeks from today and it's going to be September. Maybe not exactly today, but it's really close to today. It's about 6 weeks and we are in September, and September is a month when real football happens. So they only have about 6 weeks to get all these young rookies up to speed on everything. And they have a lot of rookies. I mean, when you look at the size of this draft class, they had 11 picks. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 picks in this draft class. This is a big draft class, and a lot of these kids are expected to contribute some serious playing time and some serious roles. And even we consider special teams serious roles. If you are on the roster and you are stepping foot on that field, you are in a serious role, because we've seen the 49ers lose games because of special teams and poor coverage and gaffes on special teams. So a lot of these kids are going to be playing some serious roles for the 49ers. And the question becomes, who is going to stand out the most? Who is going to be the rookie that surprises us the most with their contribution, the player that they put out there on the field, and we say, okay, I expected them to do well, but they have done better than I thought. I would say Michael Williams, but I think there's a lot of expectations of Michael Williams. I mean, you're pick number 11 in the draft, 11th overall. There's going to be some serious expectations that come of you, and he's pretty much a penciled in starter. I don't see who else they're going to put at edge as a starter. Bryce Huff, he's not a 4-down or 3-down starter, so that's not the guy that they're looking at. This is without a doubt Michael Williams is penciled in as a starter right now. They might say, we're going to have Sam O or Yetur Gross-Matos compete with you. It is not going to be real competition. They're going to expect Michael Williams to come in and take that spot. Alfred Collins, our brand new signee that we just talked about. I would say he would be a surprise, but I think that we have a lot of expectations of Alfred Collins as well. I mean, they let Malik Collins go, and so there's a big gaping hole, no pun intended or pun intended, whatever way you want to take it, at defensive tackle that Alfred Collins is a big giant man will be filling. And so they may again say you're quote unquote competing with Kevin Givens, but I don't think it's going to be a real competition. And he's going to be plugged in there as a day one starter. That's what they're looking at. He should be healthy by this point. And they want Tim to be in there and be healthy and as a day one starter. From there, after the first and second round, it does become question marks of who in this draft class is going to be a big surprise. You can look at Nick Martin, the linebacker with just gobs of speed who came out of Oklahoma State. The question is, can he stay durable? His size is it's not that much different than Malik Mustafa. They're almost the same size. So he's more of a big safety, small linebacker, and the 49ers are really high on D Winters, but can D Winters stay on the field? He was in and out of games a lot last year. Nick Martin, with bringing all that speed, is he going to be somebody that might show up and be the next Fred Warner or Dre Greenlaw rookie that comes in that ends up stepping into a starting role? Third round pick, just like Fred Warner was. Dre Greenlaw was a 5th round pick, if I'm not mistaken. That come in and suddenly through injury or whatever step into a bigger role and then shine and never let go of that role. That could be Nick Martin. There's Upton Stout, the safety from Western Kentucky. He was a late 3rd round pick, somebody that they're projecting to kind of come into that slot role, be a hybrid safety / corner role. He did that at Western Kentucky. They want Diamador Lenore to be a full-time outside corner along with Renardo Green, who they're very high on. So how do you fill that slot role? Upton Stout could step in there. The question's going to be I think the interesting thing is going to watch through camp will be Daryl Luter. He's somebody that we forget about a lot, has had ups and downs. He's got all the physical potential to be a strong outside corner. It comes down to who is going to perform better at their role. If Daryl Luter can be a stronger outside corner and allow Diamador Lenore to move inside of the slot, then Upton Stout as a slot guy, that will be what happens. And so Diamador Lenore is going to be kind of up in the air as these two guys play out their roles. It's an interesting competition because it's not a head-to-head like outside corner. It's two different positions, but which one plays their position better than the other one plays their position. So it'll be an interesting thing to watch there. And I hope that we get some reports coming out on it. I'm going to be watching it a lot in preseason, in the preseason games. So be ready for that when the preseason games come in and I start dropping the review videos. That is something I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to. You have Jordan Watkins, 4th round wide receiver from Ole Miss, brings a lot of speed to the receiver position. The 49ers are loading up on speed at the wide receiver position. And this is another thing that tells me Juwan Jennings is not going to get paid the $15 million that I think he's looking for. Where the 49ers are going is much more towards a speedy wide receiver core because they they have guys who can work the intermediate area of the field. Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle kind of make those other guys superfluous. You have those two guys who can work the intermediate and short areas as well as anybody. You can even throw Kyle Juszczyk in there. You need receivers who can push safeties deeper. You've got to be able to stretch the field a little bit more. And a lot of, Deebo Samuel could do that at times. He wouldn't run it with full effort every time, but Juwan Jennings isn't that guy either. And so in looking at this, that they're bringing in a Ricky Pearsall who runs a 4.41. You have Jacob Cowan who runs like a 4.35, if I remember right. Jordan Watkins was 4.4, and he was dealing with hamstring issues. These are kids that can flat out fly. And so they have a lot of speed there. They're looking to do that. So Jordan Watkins, I think it'd be interesting what happens. That'll be a great battle between him and Jacob Cowan, kind of who's slotting into a role there. Jordan James out of Oregon, I think is going to be really fascinating because I think that number 2 running back spot is going to be a deep competition. In years past, it was like Christian McCaffrey was there, and then Elijah Mitchell was your number 2, but then Elijah Mitchell just cannot stay. His knees cannot stay in shape to stay on the field. And then it was Jordan Mason and then Isaac Guerrero. Well, Jordan Mason's gone. Elijah Mitchell not going to be a factor. So, Jordan James and Isaac Guerrero are going to be competing for that number 2 running back spot. And whoever is that number 2 running back spot will be the person who has to spell Christian McCaffrey. And we've got to get him some more rest this year. So Jordan James, that's an interesting idea. Marcus Siegel, who's another one of these safeties that they brought in, kind of the safety hybrid slot guy. Like Upton Stout from Kansas State. He brings a lot of physicality, sometimes doesn't take the best angles in tackling. I showed that on some episodes after he was drafted. What's his role going to be as a 5th round pick, somebody who they see some upside, but there's some question marks. Curtis Rourke isn't going to be a surprise this year. He's going to be redshirted. Quarterback with a lot of potential, dealing with the ACL injury. He's going to be the entire year on IR. Not a big surprise there. He's on the non-football injury NFI list right now, which is a little weird. It just means he wasn't injured in an NFL game. But after that, you have a couple really fascinating kids. You have Connor Colby out of Iowa, who brings a lot as far as physical potentials of what they like in a guard, of the quickness, short area quickness that they love to have in guards, that lateral movement, that ability to get to the second level. Connor Colby out of Iowa brings a huge amount of that to the team, and we have a hole at guard. Aaron Banks left. Ben Barch, I think, is the penciled in starter, but there's going to be a competition there, and what could happen there, and maybe a competition there with center and things. I doubt it, considering that Shanahan does not like using rookies as centers. But I'm wondering about maybe Ben Barch at center, and do they take a look there and then see Connor Colby at guard if he shows enough? That's a question there. Or can Dominic Puni, that he's played center as well at some, and so that's an interesting thing. Yeah, Colby is a tall dude, but so is Ben Barch. Colby is 6'6" and Ben Barch is 6'7". So, and Alex Boone for the 49ers way back in the day was 6'7" as a guard because he was a converted tackle. I don't think they're worried about too much. I think Dominic Puni is 6'5", I want to say, because he was, again, another converted tackle. I don't think they worry about height too much because lateral movement means so much more in this scheme. So Connor Colby's a big thing. Then Junior Bergen from Montana, the wide receiver there, was picked 252. That was an interesting pick to me, of somebody that they were picking that they didn't want to have to negotiate about bringing in, considering that they have a pretty full wide receiver room already. I think he's kind of looking up at a roster spot right now, trying to figure out how he can get there. So that was a quick review of our draft class and what I think, and who do I think out of that has the potential to be the biggest surprise this year. And for me, it's CJ West. There's one kid I left out, and that's why I'm coming back to this. CJ West, defensive tackle out of Indiana. We talked about his tape. I put on his tape at Indiana and fell in love with the kid. And I'm not the only one. PFF had him as, I think, the 49ers best pick in this draft, they had him slotted as the 72nd best player in the draft, and the 49ers got him at 113. So they saw it as the biggest positive grade, or far as positive differential between their grade and where somebody was drafted that the 49ers had. And so CJ West, when you put on the tape, you can understand why that he's got a huge amount of upside. He's got a unusual quickness and athleticism for his size. He's a big kid. He is a massive kid that can control the point of attack. He will do the dirty work to soak up double teams, can play that nose tackle as a nasty, nasty bull rush with just gobs of power. And so I think this kid is just scratching his potential. As the season progressed, when he was there at Indiana, they started being more and more comfortable playing him in more than just a nose tackle lineup over the center and bull rush the center, because that was very much like the first half of his rookie or of his year last year with Indiana, and they were bringing other guys in on pass rushing downs. As the season progressed and he was showing he had a little bit more, they were allowing him to do a little bit more, and he was showing he could handle it. So I think one of the reasons why teams didn't pick him as high is because the pass rushing grade there, as far as, you know, the productivity, when you look at his film from when he was a junior and on and things, wasn't as good as teams would like out of a third round pick. And considering that the defensive tackles that were in this class that were available there, guys like an Omar Norman Lott and different guys, we took a look at a lot of them, Jamari Caldwell and such, that had a lot of good tape as far as there. Where West, there was more limited tape, but the tape that was there when he was put in other roles was still really good. And so I think he's a kid that's just scratching his potential, and he looks ready to step into a role that the 49ers have. And I think that throughout this camp, he may supplant Jordan Elliott as the number 2 starting defensive tackle. I think it's going to be him and Alfred Collins. And so I think that might be a big surprise coming in. For some of us, it won't be a big surprise if we've watched CJ West and we are familiar with what he brings to the table. But the rest of the fan base, and maybe people who don't know, and they just see this 4th round pick has come in and he's supplanted the veteran that's been on the team for a starting role, will be a surprise. And so I think CJ West is the kid to watch that can make the biggest impact and really be another piece to really rejuvenate this defensive line. I think he can very much be kind of a role that we've seen here before, and be able to fill spots that like DJ Jones, that DJ Jones was highly productive, especially in the limited role. And it would seem like you always wanted to see a little bit more DJ Jones on the field. It was hard not to put him out there when you have an Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner, but the amount of production that you'd get out of DJ Jones in the limited time you would have was just awesome. And you always felt like, man, I'd love to see more DJ Jones out there. And so CJ West really reminds me in the way he moves and the way he holds everything down with DJ Jones. And so I think that's going to be the kid that's going to be the biggest surprise. I think most people want Nick Martin to be the big surprise, want Upton Stout to be the big surprise, maybe Jordan Watkins or Jordan James. But for me, it's CJ West. That's the kid that I believe is going to be a big contributor this year as a 4th round pick that might come out of left field for a lot of people. So let us know in the chat what you think about it. It's a shorter show today. We're getting you in and out of here. Talking about this, we're ready for training camp. There's going to be a lot of news that drops over the next week as people come in and camp starts getting rolling. They're doing a lot of just sort of orientation stuff right now, but it's I like that CJ West has the correct number of syllables in his name to be the next DJ Jones. CJ West, DJ Jones. It just sounds right. That's probably what Saleh said. He came in and he goes, look, it's meant to be. But we're going to get you out of here. Appreciate you guys stopping by, checking it in. We're going to be ready. Have your notifications turned on if you're in this episode watching this show. You're probably already have it set that way. But be ready to catch the next Alfred Collins video that's going to come out. That's going to be a full video drop. Excited for when we can put that out. And then we're going to do Nick Martin and Upton Stout probably as one video together. And then I'm spending an entire video on CJ West because there's so much good tape and we're going to look at a lot of it. But we're going to get into it. And also thank you to all the members of JFA49.com. Huge thank you. Shout out to everybody there. You have been amazing supporters. We'd love to add even more of you as time goes. It's what has helped keep the channel going and keep all this film work going. It was like yesterday doing the show with stats and all this Juwan Jennings tape that represents like 6 hours of film work, just pulling stuff with Juwan Jennings. The Micah Williams video that comes out that represents something like 25 hours of work, 25 to 40 hours of just film study, and then the editing on top of it. So really appreciate everybody and their contributions to that, because it really is the direct supporters who make those videos happen. It's really not the YouTube views and stuff. It is your direct support that really does allow those videos to happen. So the link is in the description if you would like to head on over and become a supporter of the Johnny Dell's Football Academy. I am Johnny Dell. It is great to see you here. But until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and go Niners.